Hi everyone, this is part 2 of building LangSmith-like observability for LangGraph workflows. So in the part 1, we saw that how to generate this kind of observability output for any workflow. In my case, I use an agentic workflow where I provided access to certain custom tools. Okay, so the output generated will look like this JSON. Okay, so where a run ID is there, start time, all the node information of each node, and then some total aggregated information also. So now we will see how to wrap a Flask application with a UI around this and how we can very beautifully see this information in the UI and so that it makes complete sense and it is very easy to understand. So I will quickly walk you through the code to build the application. It is very straightforward. We will simply call the route and the trace JSON will be set to none initially. Final response also will be set to none. Whenever we get an input from the UI, we will call the collector.reset, which we have imported. We have imported our graph and collector from LangGraph. So if I show here, so it is all coming from here, which I explained the complete logic I explained in part 1 of this video. Please go and watch first and then come to this video. We will simply import this and then we just do a reset so that all the information of all the previous runs is not saved. It is removed and we have a blank collector. Then we simply invoke our graph with whatever user input we got. Then we, after the result is generated, then we call the collector.build so that our trace JSON is saved here. In the final response, we will send whatever message we get from the result and the trace JSON we will send as it is. I will not walk you through the HTML side of it because I took ChatGPT's help to do the HTML part and CSS part. So the code I will share it with you, but it is all generated by ChatGPT, so there's no point explaining it. So let's try to run this Flask application and see how the complete output and the complete UI looks like. Okay, so I will simply run this. Let's open this application. Yeah, so this is how the application looks like. So it starts with the chat window. Then I will simply ask what is 3 multiplied by 5. Okay, the moment I send and the complete graph will be run. So final response will show here. The result of 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. It has some summary statistics also. What was the start time? What was the total latency? The total latency in this case was 0.4 seconds. And how many were the total tokens? The total input tokens were 962. Total output tokens were 33. And total complete tokens, sum of these two is this, which is all coming from here. So the output that is generated, it is all coming from here. Okay. And we have the traces also for each node, when it was executed, how it was executed, every information we have. Before expanding, I will just show you. For LLM call, 485 tokens were consumed and 0.263 seconds was the latency. Here there were no tokens and zero was almost zero was the latency. So I think in microseconds the time was taken. And again an LLM call where 510 tokens were the total and this was the latency. So before expanding, looking at it like this becomes handy because mostly we have to see that which node is consuming the most amount of tokens or which node is the slowest one, because when we want to optimize these things, this is where we want to optimize the most around cost or around the time taken by the application to run completely and generate the final output. Now we will expand everything and see what information it shows inside each node. Okay, so for LLM call, it will show when it started. Okay, it started at 8:34:22.924 microseconds. In terms of tokens, input tokens it consumed was 466, output tokens were 19, and total tokens were 485. This was the input for the first call to LLM, only this human message, and this was the output, which was a tool call, which means after this, a tool node will be called. So tool node, this is the start This is the input, only the last message. So basically, this is the pretty representation of the output that we get from the messages. Okay, each message, whenever we try to generate pretty representation, it shows like this. Okay, and this is the output coming out of the node. Then again an LLM call where the input will be all the messages we have collected so far. First message also, whatever AI generated also, whatever tool node generated, that also. And this will be the final output. Okay, so this is how we can see the complete observatory layer, the output in a UI, in a very clean and beautiful UI, where, so if I try to ask another question, what is 2 multi by 30? So if you see here, the reset thing will change the ID also, it will regenerate it, and it will not pile up on top of this. It will generate the new output. So the ID is changed. This is the output and only 3 nodes for this particular question only. So for that purpose, this reset thing is very important because we are only creating one object which we are reusing every time. So reset is mandatory here. Without reset, it will start. So maybe I can show you also. If I don't do a reset and I try to run this, so let me try to, okay. So what is 2 multiplied by 3? So this output looks fine. Okay. But when I rerun this, what is 3 multiplied by 7? Here if you see, it gets piled up and the ID also did not get changed. So if I show you here, this was the first message, the previous message that I generated, and this is the next message that is getting generated. So only the uh, collector is compiling information, but the graph reruns, graph resets, because if you see here, the input from previous nodes is not coming here. If I show you here, this was the input so far. Where did it go? Sorry. Yeah. So this was the input where there were 3 messages. But if you see here, the input was only this. So the graph is not adding information, only the character is creating, collector is creating problem. For that purpose, the reset is mandatory. Okay. So this was a small video on how we can set up a beautiful UI around our observatory layer, and we can see every information that is there in a very nice way. So that's all for this video. Please let me know in comment section if you is there anything that you want to see more around this, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.